Guys and girls, welcome to the Beyond the Pump podcast. It's finally happening, something that I've wanted to do for quite some time now. And now we're finally getting around to it. So, episode 1. I think today is very much going to be just kind of introducing myself, giving you some insight on my journey in the fitness industry, be it that from training perspective, my background in competing, in bodybuilding, or more specifically men's physique previously, coaching, and how I've kind of found my way in the industry over the years, and also kind of like the lessons that I've learned and the mistakes that I have made. And then some more insight on what you, the listeners, can expect from the podcast in the future and over time. So I guess a good place to start, almost kind of like a little bit of an origins sort of story in terms of my training. So I've always been active my whole life, always played sport, loved sport from a young age. Football, rugby, skiing, swimming, pretty much played every single sport that you can think of. So I've always been active, always liked to move, always liked to be competitive as well. So mainly playing team sports most of my life, kind of did that through school. And then I really kind of became aware of the gym, I would say probably around 14, 15, that sort of age. I'd be going to lessons and I'd walk past the gym and see all the equipment, and I'd maybe see like the older guys training in the gym, and I'd be curious as to kind of like what they were doing. And then I say I probably started in the gym, probably more like 16. I joined the gym that I am now at as a personal trainer and coach, which is Le Sport Health and Fitness. So I joined there when I was 16 years old, started training on my own and with friends also. Had absolutely no idea what I was really doing. Instagram wasn't around at that time, so information wasn't as widely available as it is now. It was more men's health magazines, fitness magazines. I wouldn't even say really bodybuilding magazines. Bodybuilding wasn't really on my radar, to be honest, at this point. It was more kind of sports figures, rugby players, that kind of thing that I kind of like looked up to in terms of like their physique development. And then obviously guys that I was seeing at the gym that were much, much bigger than me. But I definitely was inspired by that. And I thought to myself, don't really know how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to keep trying until, I look and feel the way that I want to about my physique. So kind of like time went on, I kind of made a little bit of progress, but nothing outstanding. I was always, quite athletic. I was always one of the fastest and strongest. I wouldn't say probably the strongest, but I definitely was, very athletic. And then left school, went to university. And then when I came home, I actually started training with one of my friends. And then, I would say he was more leading me at that point. We would do a program together. We'd meet after work every day and start going to the gym. And then I started making a lot more progress when we put like a little bit more structure into my training. And I was being very consistent. I was starting to, eat well, making sure that I prioritized protein, doing all the basics that you need to start making progress. And then it must have been, I was around maybe kind of 20, 22 years old. And people in the gym were really starting to kind of take notice of me then. And they would kind of say, have you ever thought about competing? And now, like I said, bodybuilding wasn't really on my radar. So I kind of knew about it a little bit, but never had really looked into it. So then I did. I started looking into it because people had put that idea in my head, and I saw that in America, in the States, they had just released the men's physique division. So obviously I was looking in the UK, where can I do this? I liked the look of the guys. At that point in my journey, my physique was definitely suited to going into men's physique. I was, nowhere near developed enough to really consider kind of going into bodybuilding. And there wasn't even classic physique around at that point. So that year I couldn't, but then I kind of like started to prepare for the following year where they did announce that men's physique would be coming to the UK. And I think it was around 2022, 2014, around that sort of time, maybe 13. That's when I did my first men's physique show. And I didn't place. I didn't come in, obviously, in the first call out. I don't know where I came, to be honest, but I definitely wasn't near with the top guys. And it could have gone two ways at that point. I'm very competitive. I like to win. And so I went away, and I was very determined to be one of those top guys then, getting in those first call outs and fighting for trophies. So I went away, started researching a lot more into training, nutrition, and started to really deep dive into the science behind, elevating my physique. Then for the next couple of years, I carried on competing. I did a couple more shows. And then it must have been around like 2015, I think. That's where I kind of had my first breakthrough as an athlete, and I placed second at a rather large show. So it was a bit different at that point. We didn't have the established federations that we do now, like PCA, Two Bros. It was the UK BFF at that point, and they were the major federation, the only one really. There was other federations like NABA, smaller ones, but really, if you competed in the UK in bodybuilding, it was the UK BFF, and the shows were super busy. I mean, like, now there are some crazy big classes. You'll see, people up to kind of like 25 maybe in a class. Less so now because the federations are putting on more shows. There's more categories. There's more classes. So it is starting to spread out a lot more now. But at that point, there wasn't the frequency of shows. There wasn't the amount of categories and classes there is now. So I think that show that I placed second, there was about 38 guys in my class. They could barely get us on the stage. People were almost kind of like falling off the ends of the stage. It was absolute chaos. And somehow I managed to get my physique seen properly. And I got in that first call out. And then I was fighting for the top spot with another guy. And unfortunately, I came second at that show. But the fire really was lit at that point. I was fully invested in becoming, the best that I could within the sport, and trying to pursue kind of professional status over the long term in the sport. And then after that, I started going to like the British finals. So when the UK BFF held the British finals in venues like Leamington Spa, also in Nottingham as well. And that was a wake-up call as well when I went there. I remember being backstage at the British finals in 2015 and seeing the top guys at that point. And it was at that point that I realized still how far off that level that I was and the work that I needed to do to get there. Again, it could have gone two ways. I could have taken that as, I'm miles off. Am I ever going to get to that point? But anyone who knows me, it was the exact opposite. It was go away, do the work again, come back, and eventually take my place in that kind of that bracket of athlete. And then, yeah, a couple more years, doing shows, not every single season. A couple more British finals invites, and getting a little bit closer to kind of like the top level, but still not quite cracking that top 6 it was at the British then. And then in 2019, I did a PCA show. So that was when, a couple of years before that, the UK BFF was really kind of dropping off, and the PCA were really emerging as one of, if not the dominant federation within the UK. So I had been maybe like out for a season or so, and then I was seeing people compete with the PCA. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give the PCA a go. And I went to the Manchester show, which was around September. And it was a great show. I did well. I came third in that show. And yeah, the fire was still lit. I was still, kind of like pushing and pursuing for those top places. And my plan really was to kind of really keep going from that point. And then obviously 2020 hit, we had COVID. So I had to kind of like put a little bit of a pause on obviously competing because nothing was happening. But at the time, I part-owned a gym. So I was very fortunate at that time that I could go to the gym every single day, train, basically dedicate my whole life to be built around training every single day. So I made a lot of progress in that time period. I really did elevate my physique more than probably I had ever done, just because I had the time and the focus to really put everything into it. And when we came out of that in 2021, that was the first time that I actually thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, then I need to start learning even more. And I need not just knowledge, but I need experience and people who have got more experience than me, so that I can keep moving through the ranks. So that was when I got my first coach at that point. And we started the 2021 season. I did a show, the Northwest Championships in Liverpool, around, I think, May sort of time. I won my class. I won the overall title. So now I really had the belief that I could go to the British finals later that year and be really competitive and crack that kind of like that top sort of 5 bracket. And as we kind of got closer to the show, I could really see my physique was really developing the way that I wanted to. I was feeling more and more confident. So then we went to the British finals in 2021, and at that point, my head was in a little bit of a mixed place with bodybuilding as a whole. If I'm honest, I went into that show really thinking that this is it. I'm just gonna go to the British finals, give it everything I've got. I've got a coach. Everything was aligned. I'd had a really good, let's call it an off season, or a gaining phase prior, because obviously everything was shut down, and I could dedicate all my time to training. And yeah, I just thought, I'm going to give this everything I've got, and then I'm going to go out, at the top. And I ended up winning my class, and turning pro in the PCA. And that shifted my whole mindset. I'd gone in thinking, this is it, this is the last one. And then I came out thinking, I can be really good at this. And so it awoke something within me that just made me want to carry on. And so that's what I did. Carried on competing in men's physique. My physique kept developing. And then, I'd kind of achieved at that point what I wanted within the PCA. there wasn't at that time much more that I could do except for start competing in pro shows. And obviously being from the time in the UK BFF where you really were pursuing the IFBB professional status, that was always kind of like really what I wanted to push and work for and achieve. And so then my attention really started to switch towards competing in the NPC and the UK affiliation of the NPC, which is Two Bros. So then I think I did my first show with Two Bros in 2023, 2024, around about that sort of point. And it was a very, very high standard show. Now, I know a lot of athletes like to, say that every single class is stacked. But this class was really competitive. Of the guys that were in that class, almost all of them now, so at least at least 3 of the guys in that first call out are IFBB pros now. So yeah, it was a tremendous quality in terms of the athletes in that lineup. And I still kind of like had the fire at that point, but I'll be honest, the way I like to train is more what people would kind of associate with bodybuilders and classic physique guys. I enjoy training my legs. I'm pretty strong, so I like pushing my body very, very hard. Like I say, I'm very competitive, even with myself within my own training. I'm always, every single session, striving to beat what I've previously done. And I felt like I was kind of starting to have to hold my physique back to stay in men's physique. I really couldn't train my legs. I was filling out the board shorts, without really training my legs at all. I was maybe doing one leg session every 3 to 4 weeks. And yeah, I was holding them back a lot. And I didn't enjoy that at all. I really didn't find it very fun. If you're competing in men's physique, a lot of the focus is going to be around top line development. So, arms, shoulders, chest. Obviously, you need a complete upper body, but very much so like the top line, especially in the front shot, is should be very prominent. And so a lot of the training is focused around that, which, obviously I enjoy that, but I wanted to train more how I envisage kind of training. And so my mind was already starting to switch towards, I need something new. I need a new challenge. And that pretty much leads us to where I am now. Coming into the 26 season, I did my last men's physique show in the summer of 25. And really, that was where I kind of got confirmation that my time with men's physique, I think, is done. And I want to move towards classic physique and, potentially the open in the future. It more depends on how things go over the next kind of like couple of years, how I do, how competitive I am, the feedback that I get from the judges in terms of where they think I am best suited. And so, that's yet to be determined. But I'm very, very excited to kind of compete in the classic physique and classic bodybuilding divisions this year. So that will be around the summertime of this year. So that's really kind of like my origins in terms of, when I started training, my journey through kind of like competing. And all alongside that, I was, developing my own businesses as well. So in 2016, I became a self-employed personal trainer. So I was working out of a small studio, built up pretty quickly a full kind of like client list, many of which I still train today. So I've been training them and they've been with me for a long time, which has been, incredibly rewarding to train them for this long. and for them still to be part of my life today. And they've seen the evolution over time. And then in 2018, I opened my own kind of like private gym where we ran classes. And we had, at one point, we were kind of like a small private open gym as well. But then obviously COVID came along. We had to adapt the business a lot. And then after that, the fitness industry was really changing, you know, and my direction was changing because I'd, done well within bodybuilding, and I wanted to go more into coaching athletes and individuals who really had like higher level physique goals and really wanted to excel and get excellent results. And so that's when I really started looking into online coaching at that point. Then in 2022, that's when I first started officially online coaching. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that too. I've prepped many people for shows now, had a lot of success, multiple class and category wins across all the major UK federations, and pro cards and other federations as well. And the business is going from strength to strength. This probably is the most overall competitors that I've had on the roster coming into the kind of the 26, 27 sort of like time. And yeah, it's been incredibly rewarding developing those businesses over time. And they're just going from strength to strength. And yeah, gained a lot of experience, not only through coaching individuals myself, but also I've had the fantastic opportunity to work with some of the top coaches in the industry as well, where I've learned a lot from their experience around coaching people, the systems they use, and I'm applying that all into my own kind of processes within coaching now. And yeah, the future is looking very, very bright for the coaching brand. And that's also why kind of I wanted to start this podcast. I wanted to put myself out there more, and let people in on kind of getting to know me a little bit better as an individual. I've got plans to obviously bring other people onto the podcast, other athletes like myself who can give insight into their experiences within competing, especially within other divisions and other federations. Other people who have, more niche expertise in terms of topics that will, I think you, the listeners, will find interesting, very, very interesting. And then obviously people that I have coached and obviously currently coach who can give more insight into what it's like to be coached by myself, and just more insight into the fitness industry as it currently is. It's one of the fastest growing industries on planet Earth, no doubt. It's going from strength to strength. There's more people in the fitness space than ever before. Gyms are, popping up all over the place. Supplement brands, fitness clothing brands. The growth has been absolutely phenomenal. So it's a fantastic time for the UK fitness industry, for the UK bodybuilding industry as well. And I'm just incredibly grateful to have my part in that, and to provide a very positive voice within that space. So yeah, that is basically the first episode done. A little introduction into who I am, a little bit of a background story on how I got into bodybuilding and coaching. And the next episode will be very soon, where I will cover the real cost of achieving a great physique or transformation. So stay tuned for that soon, guys. Thank you for listening, and we will catch up soon.